So let's say we're in the club here. You've been, and you say you're about 11. You're in the club. You're mixing. You're kind of getting your DJ started. How did High C and you get started as far as making music and really just setting, hip hop, really just like setting us a foundation music that I still listen to even now. You'll come, oh yeah, that's my joint. Like, how does that set up now? How does that meeting and how does you guys start making hip hop and really get put on?
Yeah, it was a long story short. Was I started making mixtapes for and when I say mixtapes, they were on cassette. Today mixtapes is totally different.
Right.
These were on cassette and they were done on 4-track. Most people thought I was doing them on a 4 turntable. No, it was a Tascam Porta 1 4-track. You can Google it and see it. I was doing them for this guy named Steve, the guy who gave me my first job. Dr. Dre was doing mixtapes for him before I was. Dre did them from 84 to 87. Now, when I say Dr. Dre, we're talking about NWA, World Class Wrecking Crew, the billionaire Dr. Dre.
Billionaire Dr. Dre, Beats, headphones.
Yes.
Okay.
So he did it from 84 to 87. I got reacquainted with my friend Steve in 87. So I was about 19 years old when I met Dre, Jinx, and Easy. Sir Jinx being Dre's cousin. I met Dre around the time in the movie Straight Outta Compton when he leaves his mom's house to go live with his cousin Jinx.
Okay.
It was around that time when I met them. And I was introduced to Eazy-E as Eric. He wasn't Eazy-E just yet. They were barely working on a demo called LA's the Place, Fat Girl on My Jock, Boys in the Hood wasn't done yet.
Okay.
And what happened was Dre got so busy doing the whole Ruthless projects that he pretty much told me, he said, you know what, you should take over making the mixtapes. So Steve said, let's go. He already knew I was a pretty well-known, good DJ. So from 87 to 91, I started doing the mixtapes. Now, I want to say from 87 to, I want to say 89, Dre, Eazy-E, Ren, Ice Cube, JJ Fad, even Michelet had a little cameo appearance. Crazy D, Sir Jinx, all of them were rapping on my mixtapes. And that's what pretty much gave me a huge street buzz. And for people have to understand that we had no social media. That was our social media.
Right. The mixtape was actually you putting it. Yeah. Okay.
So what happened was when Dre got so busy and he took off on tour, I had nobody else rapping on my mixtapes. So Steve Yano, the guy that I'm doing these mixtapes for, tells me there's a guy at the end of the swap meet. His name's High C. He's a blood. He's from Compton. He's about 17 years old, and he wants to rap on these mixtapes. So I said, well, okay, well, let me go ahead and meet him. Went out there and met him. Came over to my house. He rapped. Eventually, we ended up performing at his high school, Centennial High School in Compton. And I saw the way he engaged the crowd. I wasn't so fond of his rap style because it was very elementary, but he had a good voice, and the way he engaged the crowd was appealing to me. I told Steve, let's go ahead and put him on a couple of mixtapes. So we did. We put him on 3 or 4 mixtapes. I know the first one he rapped Funky Cole Medina. After that, he did a different genre, which is house music. House music was coming in. So he rapped to a house song, and then we finally did a hip hop song on a mixtape, or should I say hip hop instrumental, where he rapped and he sounded good. So eventually after that, we did like a demo, if you will, of a song called I'm Not Your Puppet on a mixtape. 2 months later, we did somewhat of a follow-up to that song called Sitting in the Park. Right. And that song, or should I say those mixtapes, actually caught the ears or the attention of music executives at Disney, wow, who were about to open up a record label called Hollywood Records.
Wow. So now they caught the ear. They're listening to the kind of I guess the old school, new high, like a new hip hop mix, yes, blend, and then so they came seeking for you after that. They came looking for you.
Yes, yeah. There was a guy that came to the swamp meet, and he actually had the tape with him, and I remember he went up to the stand. Now, people always ask me, well, how did he know where to go look for you guys? Because on the mixtapes, it would say who the rapper was, who they're making the mixtapes for, and what was the name of the swamp meet, the Rhodium Swamp Meet in the city of Gardena. So he came down, had the cassette, and asked Steve at his stand. I was outside of his stand by a snack bar. He always got the stand by the snack bar because that's where all the traffic is.
Right.
And that's where he would crank up the music, So this guy says, I'm looking for whoever made this tape. And he was waving at it, and Steve thought it was a guy there trying to bust us for bootleg records. Or bootleg cassettes, I should say. So he points at me and goes, he did it. He does them. And then I said, wait a minute. He sells them. I do them for him. And the guy said, well, who is High C? Because that name of the demo, I'm Not Your Puppet, was on a mixtape called High C. We would name the mixtapes or whatever was going on at that time, whatever was relevant. That's what we named it. So I told Steve, I already have somewhat of a name on the street because I've been doing them since 87.
Right.
This is 89. Let's name this tape High C. So he takes it a step further. He goes, okay, well, who is the guy rapping on it? And Steve goes, oh, that's High C. He sells in the back of the swap meet. Take him over there, Tony. So we go over there. And I introduced him and I said, hey, High C, this is so-and-so, High C. And he says, hey, listen, this landed in the desk at my office. I came here. I'm an A&R. I need to sign some acts. I want you guys to be the first rap act to be signed to Disney Hollywood Records. So I want to set up a meeting with you guys. And we'll go first. I want to offer you guys a single deal. We'll see how the single does. And if it does well, then we'll go ahead and sign you to an album deal. Now, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know what the hell he was going to sign us to because I was just a DJ and a mixtape guy. I was not a producer. So we ended up having our first meeting. They wanted to give us $40,000 for our first single, which was I'm Not Your Puppet.
Right, okay.
So I told Steve, look, of course I want the money. I said, but I don't know how to produce. So that's when he tells me, oh, don't worry about it. I'll get you a drum machine and I'll take you to Dre's, Dr. Dre's, and he'll show you how to use it.
Wow, okay, wow.
So that's pretty much how I learned. So he bought me the drum machine, Sb1200. So I had it. I remember the manual was about this big, like a damn phone book.
Right, all the different.
And he goes, just read it. And I said, I ain't reading that shit. That's exactly what I told him. I said, I ain't reading that. And he was like,
probably reads like stereo instructions too,
Exactly, I was more the type of guy that turn it on and start banging away. So it didn't come with preset sounds.
Okay.
It was a sampling drum machine that we had to sample our own. So he takes me to his apartment, Dre's apartment in Paramount. At the time, he was living in Paramount. And I remember it was so weird because it's a funny story. I knock on the door, and a little kid answers the door. And this person says, hello, real high-pitched voice. And I was like, is your dad there? Who? And I was like, your dad. And she goes, my dad. And I go, yes. I said, Dre, Dr. Dre. She opens the door and it's Miss Chalet.
Oh, crazy.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, shoot. I didn't know who that was yet, And well, what happened was, she let us in this apartment, and that apartment was absolutely empty.
Wow.
Like there was nothing there. So Dre comes out of the room, and I go, where are we going to set the drum and the turntable and the mixer up? And he goes, set it on the floor. And I was like, oh, okay, you don't have a table? He goes, no. And I go, did you just move in? I didn't know him that good to really feel comfortable to ask him, why is this place empty?
Right.
So I just said, did you just move in? And he was like, no, I've been here for 6 months. So I was like, okay, so I didn't know what to say.
Right.
So there I am plugging in the drum machine, the mixer, and the turntable. And it was so weird, man. We both laid on our stomachs, and there he is, showing me how to sample. Wow. And he tells me, this drum machine has 10 seconds. Each pad is 2.5 seconds. So this drum machine, you're going to be forced to get creative. So he sampled the snare in front of me. He goes, always put the kick, the boom, boom, boom. That's what he said it. On pad 1, the snare on pad 2, the hat on pad 3. He said, and the crash on pad 4. So that way they're close together. And he was like, boom, 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 boom. Then he started like, boy, I tell you what, I was just fascinated just watching him, And then he goes, over here, you put it on song mode, you record it, then it'll loop for 2 bars. What's a bar? Well, count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 1 bar.
Right.
He said on the second bar, don't start with 1, start with 2.
Right. 2.
So, yeah, then 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, and then that's how I learned that day. And he goes, you don't want to write this down? I said, I'll remember it, and I did. So after that, me and Jinx were hanging out, his cousin, and Jinx showed me a couple of things. So I was always blessed and fortunate to meet the right guys.
Right.
You know, so I can't really sit here and say those are just the homies from the hood. No, they weren't. All these connections came through Steve Yano.
Wow, that's incredible. Actually, that's pretty incredible. Okay, so now